project identifies total lead time as the focus of our work, but in evaluating the opportunities that we found for improvement, that focus was narrowed to address the cycle time, which is defined as from the first case card entering into the OR to the first surgical incision. The PQA data around this particular project addresses both provincial and regional data. So the provincial target time for a total joint replacement, be it a knee or a hip, is 120 minutes. Currently within Prince Albert Parkland, a hip replacement takes about 139 minutes and a knee replacement takes about 131. So this is a little longer than the time required in Moose Jaw, who would be a relevant comparator to us. So the provincial volume target for total joint replacements for Prince Albert Parkland is 360 joints a year, or an average of 30 a month. And currently, if we use that as our measure, currently we're about 15 procedures behind if we hope to meet our target by March 31st. So in evaluating the opportunities for improvement within Prince Albert Parkland, we use the premise that total joint replacements are currently performed 4 days a week on a regular week and 3 days a week on weeks that have a stat holiday. So our current shortfall, as I noted earlier, that 15 cases, in meeting the surgical targets is secondary to drop slates or canceled surgeries, and drop slates are often secondary to postponement, which is defined as a case that's being pushed out at least to the next day, if not longer, but remains on the wait list. And the dropped slates, or the postponements, were broken into 4 categories. The first one being patient-related causes, which is the blue line that you'll see up there and is our highest number. And it speaks to things like the patient becoming ill unexpectedly or who becomes medically unstable. It might also be people that decide not to show up for their surgery, they've changed their mind, or they've decided to eat breakfast so they're not fasting anymore. The second cause is around provider-specific issues, which is often an unexpected sick leave, short-term sick leave. The third case or the groupings is around OR-related causes. That would be the green line that you see up there. And it can be things like equipment not being available in the OR running out of OR time at the end of the day, or the cases being bumped for a more urgent emergent case. And the fourth category is other regional causes, and that would include things like no available bed. So if we look at the target progress report sheet, the following parameters and baselines are identified. So the space and inventory, we found 1,172 as our baseline for inventory. Walking distance for the scrub nurse, so although they're in a small space, they take a lot of steps, and that was 601 feet. Travel of the prosthetic components, so those are the pieces that they put in if you actually have a joint replacement, would be 48 feet. The lead time, which is the first case cart into the OR to when the patient leaves the OR, 2 hours and 56 minutes. And just a point to highlight here, this is a different parameter than the 120 minutes that I mentioned as a provincial average, so we're not comparing apples to apples here. The defect rate is that we found was the opening of the OR door between the OR theater and the anteroom, which the defect rate was identified as being 12 times. So just a bit of an explanation around this. There's a required number of door openings that are just part of the process of completing that surgery, and that baseline is 12. So the defect rate is openings that are above that baseline of 12. The productivity gain is 2 joints or 2 joint surgeries in a 5-hour time frame. The baseline setup, the baseline for the setup time is 32 minutes, which is the first cart into the OR to the surgical instruments being completely set up. And then the cycle time. And the baseline measure for that cycle time is 1 hour and 6 minutes. That's from the first case cart entering the OR until the first surgical incision. And that's a parameter just to maybe take note of, because that's one of our comparators. The value stream map, pre-Kaizen, noted 5 distinct cycle components, and the RPIW looked at moving 2 of those cycle components from being one after the other to having them as a consecutive process. The takt time of 163 minutes was based on the demand, presumed demand of 360 surgeries in a year and 5 hours of OR time in a day. So the takt time was 163 minutes. And our initial assessment of the 7 wastes on the waste wheel were focused around inventory or stock on hand, processing, and movement of either staff or products.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina, the happy and croaky volunteer. Congratulations to everyone on team number 28, the dynamic, jovial joint operators. My role was that of a patient rep. Team partner Dr. Martins and I were doing the time observation for total knee surgery in the OR. The following points were used in our calculation. First card in the room, we used time 0. The last card in the room, now here the measurement varied between 35 seconds and 7 minutes. Later in the day, the measurements were shorter because the cards were lined up outside the room, ready to be pushed in. Next came the patient in the room. Now this varied from 5 minutes to 31 minutes from time 0. The reason, there was no backup component, so our patient was intentionally delayed to check sterility of instrumentation. Next came skin incision. This was the measurement we wanted to influence by checking the effect of parallel flow of instruments in the room and patient in the room. Our readings varied from 48 minutes to 68 minutes. Finally, the patient out of the room. The timing here was 2 hours and 2 minutes up to 2 hours and 58 minutes. To focus on the reduction of overall time for surgery procedure, we tried the following. Instead of setting up sterile instruments in advance of the patient coming into the OR, we had the patient come in at the same time, so both preps could be performed, and our overall time was reduced by 16 minutes. We also counted the number of times the surgical door was opened during the procedure from skin incision to skin closure. A wide variation of 14 to 27 times was noted. The team decided the critical time for door opening was while the components were exposed, starting with the removal of components from the packaging to the closure of the first tissue layer. Now, to draw attention to this critical time, we created a door sign with the word stop. We tested it once, no door openings were occurred, so we hope these improvements will continue.
As noted by Tina, the door openings were quite frequent during the surgical process, and so to move forward with some activities that would reduce that number, the openings of the opening of the door was categorized into different factors. So those included staff breaks, people needing to leave for lunch or for coffee break, removing used and unused instruments out of the OR, getting the prosthesis components, which of course is required work, and getting additional equipment and supplies based on what may be happening during that particular surgery, and other reasons that aren't necessarily or weren't necessarily clear to us, but might include things like phone calls and so on. Based on the timings as indicated by Tina, we completed our standard work combination, and when the pre and post Kaizen values were compared to each other, which you can see best on this particular layout, the patient preparation, we were able to move the patient preparation forward in the process. and which was what we had intended to do with the RPIW, so that was excellent. And then on the percent load chart, it shows up a little bit more clearly where initially the patient preparation and the instrument setup are two separate processes, one behind the other. And with the post-Kaizen, those two activities are more done at the same time. And the surgical procedure, though, on the post-Kaizen, the surgical procedure time actually became longer. And I think that's secondary to two factors during this last week. One, we had quite a small sample size. And the sample size I think that we had was very non-representative of what actually happens probably 80% of the time in the OR. So we had, for instance, a very late start. We had dropped instruments and other factors that just were not part of the common practice there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tara Shaw. I don't like things like this. I work in the OR with LPN or team. I'm a team participant on this RPIW. As noted by Connie, working in functional instruments are an integral part of our surgical process. Proper assembly of pans. Example is the precision pan. If they're not being put together properly, then they're not ready and functioning for the surgeon to do his surgery. So we found that with this pan, it was getting assembled wrong. And we found the pictures were very unclear. So Jason from the S&D department took the pictures, hoping that this will eliminate this problem and that our instruments be ready to use. Yeah, next. There was a bit of confusion around some of the nursing roles in the OR theater, so we have developed work standard for this. It starts back in the sterile room with the OR attendant and how the tables are being set up prior to them being pushed into the theater. And we did set out some work standard for this also, having RN1, RN2, and circulating, it's RN1, scrub 1, and then circulating 3 and 4. So there has been a little bit of switch in what we do, and we're just hoping to get those posted in the back ante room so everyone can refer to them and have a smoother process. Thirdly, the setup of the large instrument trays. We did make some changes to that as to which ones were open, because we do have to open 9 large pans for total meat, and we just put them in better order so that there's less moving of the instruments, so the sterility is better. And we did set up some work standard for this also. So before, we have some before pictures, and that was organized for us because we did, but we did make some changes and we spread it out on 3 tables. And those are our knee pans. But now it's just more clear and the consistency and standard work is there. There's a basket on the bottom for some of our old items that we may just take and put on the back counter, and some of our dressing supplies that we can just put on our back counter instead of handling things more than they need to be. And those are our knee pads now in order. And those are the dressings and the whole items on the bottom. And that's for our hip pads, we do 12 of them. And just the changes that we made with the whole items and the dressings. We also did a spaghetti diagram. This represents how many times the scrub nurse moves to set up her 3 tables. And in the first time it was done, it was 401 steps, and then after reorganization of the tables, it went down to 360. I'm hoping to bring that down a little bit more. And we've also made a video for the setup of the tables, just for future staff that do start learning department, just have the work standardized and remain standardized, and for just have a training checklist that we're in the process of finishing with all the staff there.
Thanks, Tim. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cynthia Listician. I'm a participant on this RPIW. My work that I did on the RPIW was 5S'ing cart number 3, and our goal was to organize the space on cart 3 in preparation for Kanban. So the cart was evaluated at 3.2, which was a really good evaluation, and the target was 3.5, so that's what we were working toward. So Carmen Kroek, the OR nurse educator, and I, she worked very, very closely with me and dedicated a lot of time to this. We were able to move supplies to another cart, as well as remove supplies completely out of the department. And this, of course, speaks to having only what you need when you need it, and of course in the place that you need it. The beauty of Kaizen is the ability to work with other departments, and so there were 2 items that we were able to share with another department. So recovery and OR each will be ordering 1 item and then sharing the item. So of course resulting in reducing inventory as well as cost. As a result, the inventory reduced by 38%, and the avoided future cost also decreased for that particular cart by 7%. So there's an avoided cost of $246. The final cart looks like that, and there was some space that was gained, 1.8 square feet that were gained. And so as a result, the target was met, the evaluation was 3.5, and the cart is ready for Kanban.
Hi, my name is Lori Friesen. I'm the Director of Pharmacy, and I'm the sub-team lead in RPIW number 28. So as you can see, we have managed to address many of our Kaizen bursts on our value stream map. We were also able to address some of the waste on our waste wheel, but a few of the items were passed on to be addressed in the future. On our newspaper, we have 15 items that we tried to address during our RPIW. 7 of them we were able to complete. One of the first things we implemented was to overlap the setup of the instruments and the patient preparation. Another area where we had looked at creating standard work was the setup of the supplies by the scrub nurse and the OR. We were able to get some timings done and created a training video for the new staff, but the standard work was not yet created by the end of the week. It was also identified during our RPIW that the nerve block can affect the start of the next surgery. As we didn't have all the people involved in this procedure available for our RPIW, it will have to be reviewed, the whole process of the nerve block in the future. So our target progress report. So in inventory, as was mentioned earlier by Cynthia, we started off with 1,172 items, and our final was 724, so a reduction of 38%. Our walking distance of the scrub nurse started off at about 601 feet, and ended up at about 562 feet, so a 6% reduction. So our quality defects, as was mentioned, our baseline was 12 non-essential door openings, and we were able to reduce that to 8 non-essential door openings, so a reduction of 33%. And our cycle time, we were able to reduce it from 1 hour and 6 minutes to 50 minutes, so a reduction of 25%, and that was with the ability to push things together. So this implementation plan will be passed on to the process owner for future follow-up. And it indicates that we made 2 changes to the process. We developed 2 standard work. And also it shows some future actions that came from our parking lot that weren't in the newspaper because may need a little bit more work. So, summary of the workshop. Things that we learned is that change is progressive, that early staff engagement is very, very important. We were able to reduce patient wait times. We need to support creativity by thinking outside the box. And we were able to increase standardization. So in closing, we have a few thank yous. So first and foremost is Carmen from the OR. She was very helpful in so much that we did. And she helped with the 5S, she helped us create the standard work. Also all the OR staff for their insight and help during the week and before for Connie and myself. The KPO support, the anesthetist, the surgeons, Sensei and Michiko, IT, RPIW number 30 for their collaboration, Carol Gregorick, Eddie and the materials management team. Thank you very much.